Hi everyone, we're Travel with Johnny and Will, and this is our recap of day 6 on board Sky Princess, leaving Southampton, visiting ports in Denmark and Norway.
So in this video, we're going to recap how we got on our day 6, and also we're going to chat later about probably what has been the worst dining experience that we've ever endured in our 26
In
cruises.
any restaurant, any cruise line, yeah.
But we're also going to tell you how you can put things right and make it known to the cruise line in order to improve the guest experience in the future. Our day started off rather late. We had a lie-in as we had a very late night the night
really
before.
Late night, yeah.
In fact, it was so late that whenever we got back to the cabin, it was starting to get bright outside.
It was.
But we had a super night the night before.
Oh, it was great fun,
and we have no regrets.
So a little bit disappointing today. We were meant to be docked in Skagen, and we ended up not docking due to bad weather. There was an announcement made yesterday. Now, we weren't on the ship when the announcement was made, but basically due to the high winds, we would not be able to get docked in Skagen or Skagen, and that we would have an extra sea day. So yeah, we started off and it was a sea day.
So we headed down then to the photo gallery area, which is just off the piazza on deck 6. And this has sort of nearly just become nearly like a go-to place because it doesn't seem to be an area that a lot of people sit in unless it gets really busy. So we're always really guaranteed a seat there, and then it's still nice because you're still there within the hustle and bustle of the piazza and hearing the music or whatever's going on down below. But we met our friends Lynn and Rose there to see them and have a bit of a catch-up. And basically tell them about our antics, especially this one's antics, the night before, in which one of us reached the limit on our Princess Plus drinks package.
We did. I mean, I did.
You did. Yes, I didn't. You did.
Yeah, so we didn't really eat that much down there. I went to the international... We both went to the international cafe. I think I ate the crusts of an entire pie and didn't eat any of the pie.
I had a little pie which was lovely, and then I had like a little filled roll as well. So I was quite content with what I had to eat. I was not suffering.
No.
So as I said, this little area, it's just off the main piazza, and there was plenty of things happening. There was a line dancing class going on down, and everybody seemed to have, like, I was surprised the amount of people actually that were down there learning the dance. But they were doing quite well with the moves, so fair play.
And the piazza on this ship is the heart of the ship. Everything that is a big event, like that involved the crew, the officers, you know, it seems to be held there. So it definitely is the heart of the ship.
Yeah, they've been doing like officers versus guests. You know, they'll do like a traditional game. You know, and then
they obviously did the champagne, the captain's champagne, waterfall.
They've done like a pitch and putt contest between officers and staff, and
lots and lots of activities that go on in the piazza.
So as we're cruising on this ship, because of Paul and Carol of the Travel's inaugural group cruise, they have a daily event or activity on at 1:30 in the Vista Lounge. So we made our way back to the after the ship on deck 7 to take part in today's event, which was a travel quiz.
Yeah, and it was pretty much a general knowledge travel quiz. It wasn't...
To be fair, I think Dan really was tough.
The questions were tough. Yeah.
You know, I think even we've been to some places, but we definitely struggled with some of those. But we didn't do too badly. Out of 24, we scored.
We got 13 out of 24. Yeah.
It's good for us. However, big thanks to Sid and Lauren for helping us out because we probably wouldn't have scored as well.
No.
But it was a really nice atmosphere in that lounge, and then afterwards the quiz was over and they did their House of Bamboo dance. And I have to say, like, obviously we're recording this the day after, which is the last day of our cruise now, and it has been a really great experience having those daily meetups there. I know we haven't been to them all, but having them there, I think the ones that we've attended, we've really enjoyed.
Yeah, because it's such a large group that have come on the Paul and Carl Love to Travel grip cruise, it's good to have that big space instead of just saying, oh, well, we'll all just meet up here. It's been really nice to have a dedicated space, and as well, the staff are there at the bar and you can get a drink. So it's a really awesome space.
Yeah.
So also at this meetup, we got a group picture. Paul got his 360 camera in the big pole. We did a couple of different aspects with them, but it's always so much fun to like get everybody together.
And everybody was just in good spirits,
Yeah.
like, you know, getting their photographs taken, you know. And then what was actually quite entertaining was that at one point, Paul was racing about the Vista Lounge on his dad's scooter.
know.
So maybe that's an idea then for their next group cruise, is that we should have races on,
With
on mobility
scooters?
scooters. That might be fun. It might be dangerous, but it might
That's
be, but it might be quite fun at the same time.
So after this, we quickly came back to the cabin. We recorded a vlog and got dressed because we were meeting up with Ken and Lindsay from Ken Goes Cruising, Ken and Lindsay Travel Again, because we had attached ourselves onto them for the specialty dining on board, which is the Crown Grill.
We tried to book before we came on this cruise online, and it kept coming up that it was fully booked.
Yeah.
And however, whenever we got on board on day one, if you've watched our vlog, if you haven't, we'll link it. But whenever we came on day one, we went to see the restaurant supervisor with Ken, and he was explaining that he had a reservation and we would like to join him. And it was no bother actually to get us
to
to
get added, yeah.
So we were very grateful that they let us tag along.
So the Crown Grill on board Sky Princess is the specialty steakhouse. The cover charge for this is $55, excluding the
Service charge.
service charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, per head.
So I think in total it works out about $64.50.
$64.90 or something.
Or something like that.
18%.
Yeah. So here's a wee look at the menu. What would you pick?
So for starters, we both had the black and blue onion soup, and I really did quite like it. It's quite watery, but it had a lovely flavour to it.
And actually, before we even got that,
Oh
we got
my gosh, the
lovely warm
breads.
breads delivered to the table. And there was these sort of two big round rolls, which had mozzarella in them, and they were warm. And then there was like a focaccia bread as well.
Like it was sweet.
And it was really, they were nice and warm, and I could have had lots more of those. So for me, I basically had the filet mignon, and as most people know by now, if they watch our channel, I like mine well done. I know you could argue that it probably ruins the meat, but if I'm paying for it, I want it cooked
The way you want it, yeah.
Yeah. So now I have to say, my steak was cooked exactly how I wanted it, so I could not fault the actual steak.
So I had the vegetarian option. It was called the beef steak, tomato and veg gratin. And to be honest, this was the most letdown. It was a big letdown.
Now, before we get all these comments saying, well, why did you go to a steakhouse
And order the vegetarian option?
The vegetarian option. Regardless whether it's a steakhouse or not, it's a specialty restaurant
Yeah.
that you're paying, obviously, over $50 as an extra charge. So regardless what you want to eat in the menu, it shouldn't matter. It should still
Should look good.
Yeah, it should look good, and it should be well presented, regardless of what it is. Plus, you know, at the end of the day, you know, Will goes to steakhouses because I like steak.
Yeah.
You know,
so I'm going because of you, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was terrible. Like in my head, a gratin is like a layered, a sliced veg, breadcrumbs, and then like toasted.
And let's actually put a picture on the screen.
Yeah, of what I expected.
Yep.
And this is actually what I got. And there's a part of the plate that doesn't have any food on it.
Yeah, it actually looks as if you just went up to the buffet, got an oil
Grabbed
label,
a tomato, grabbed some aubergine, and
threw it on the plate.
And little two wee tiny pastry things. It was the most underwhelming thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was awful.
Yeah, no thought was put into it, even in how it was presented, or
And honestly, I'd said to Johnny afterwards that if we were there alone, I might have just walked out at this point because and I was staying to be polite because I was in good company with Ken and Lindsay, but I didn't want to make a scene at that point.
Yeah.
Because of the company we were in, and I felt that would have been rude on my part, so
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
So for dessert then, you had the...
Apple rhubarb cobbler, yeah.
And I thought I would go for something different, even though I wanted the cobbler as well. But I also then seen this thing which was called a triple chocolate treasure.
Yeah.
And when I read the description of it, it just seemed very nice. So I sort of thought, let's go for that.
So my dessert was really good, and I ate it all. It was really nice.
Yeah, and so was mine. I could not fault the taste of it. You might ask yourself then, if Johnny sort of liked his meal and had no complaints about the food, and well, obviously you did, in terms of your meal was very
wasn't
underwhelming.
good, yeah.
Why was this the worst meal and dining experience we've had at sea to date? So let's tell you. First of all, the service in general was a huge letdown. The staff didn't seem to know what each other were doing, and that, you know, we have your assistant waiter that deals normally with your drinks orders and serving you your drinks, and maybe bringing like condiments and things like that to the table, and then obviously you have your main food server that comes and takes your food order and then normally presents you and serves you with your meal. We obviously, whenever we were getting our food, you know, Ken was expecting, you know, for his first part to be the cold starter, the salad.
Yeah.
But in fact, he got the soup was served first. And then whenever our steaks and that had came, we were asked about the salts, and we had salts all put on our plate. Then about 10 minutes later, the other server came back and asked us the same question.
The main food, yeah.
Didn't even notice the fact that we already had salt on the plate. The bread was put down. We'd finished the bread. Then 10 minutes later,
Oh, have you had bread?
Have you had bread yet? Oh, yes. Like 10 minutes
Then
ago.
Lindsay had her steak. Oh, how's your steak, madam? She hadn't even cut it yet.
Yeah.
So how is she going to tell them what the steak was like? Ken's glass of wine. He didn't have any wine for the last part when he was eating his steak. It lay empty for 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the bizarre thing about that was when I was finished my dessert, my water glass, I only had water, was sitting empty, and he said, "Oh, sir, I don't like to see your glass empty." And I thought, Ken's glass was empty his entire dinner, and then at the end you just took it away. You didn't even ask him if he wanted more.
And the thing is too, you didn't really eat all your meal anyway because it was that poor.
Yeah.
But not once did the waiter come back to the table and ask, is everything okay with
It was
your
just the
food?
steak question about, is your steak cooked okay? And then there was never any other, have you enjoyed your meal? Like a normal question you would get asked
Yeah.
at a restaurant.
So then obviously the other thing that happened was whenever the guy, our main server, came to take our food order for the dessert, he had asked us what we wanted, and Lindsay didn't want a dessert, so she says, "Oh, I would just like a cappuccino." And the response initially was, "Oh, but you need to speak to the
Yeah,
assistant
but
waiter."
it was cutting to the point of being rude.
So then whenever I ordered my dessert, I had sort of said, "Oh, I would like the triple chocolate treasure," to which the response from the server was, he looked me up and down and sort of said, "Oh, I can see you love chocolate." And I sort of thought, right, okay. I kind of brushed it off initially, but then it seemed...
Well, you did laugh, but laughing is a coping mechanism.
Yes, and I did sort of think that, you know, I was in a bit of shock, and then actually... I sort of thought, like, he was sort of being rude there. And then whenever Ken and Lindsay said, "Oh, that was a bit rude," I sort of thought, oh, well, then that's just not me thinking something more into it.
No, it was rude.
And I just sort of thought, And obviously we're recording this video the day after the event. So I've sort of had time to think about it. And after we left the restaurant, I was quite annoyed and upset about it. I'm not saying that I have a huge complex about being fluffy, or being overweight or whatever, but each to our own. And yes, we're doing things obviously to try and adopt a healthier lifestyle whenever we're at home. So at the end of the day, I've already lost like nearly 50 pounds in weight before this cruise, and I'm sort of thinking, how dare he, considering I'm paying to be here, and I'm also paying for this meal. Call me self-entitled if you want.
Yeah.
But I'm paying for a meal I don't expect to be insulted.
No.
So then...
You actually expect better service than you would, yet the service we were receiving was worse than it would be if we just went do the regular included dining.
Yeah. So then what happened was after they didn't ask me did I want a coffee or anything, and then I asked for a coffee. The coffee came and the server came back. By that point the desserts had been finished, and he then made this whole like deal of, oh, and he looked at the plate and was like, oh, he lifted the tablecloth. Oh, is it hiding under there? No, I think you enjoyed that. He sort of said, just with a real like space smugness.
Yeah.
I don't find that acceptable. And yes, it's annoying to me. I'm sure it probably would annoy a lot of other people more. If they had that experience. So at that point, I kind of just says, aha, right, okay. Well, any chance of milk, please.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of these people that would ever be rude to staff. I've worked in the service industry and hospitality, and then obviously I work in healthcare, and I do believe that whenever you're working in a role, you should be respected for the job you're doing, and you don't need customers to be rude. I would never be rude to anybody that is serving me, and because I just think it's wrong. So yeah, so that was our sort of experience. So then we sort of thought, right, okay, whenever we were leaving, maybe we should speak to the restaurant manager just on the way out the door. And Ken is very diplomatic and very nice, and he is just sort of explained, look, we've just had our meal here. It hasn't been great. Their food wasn't fantastic, and either they didn't really enjoy what they had.
Yeah, they said that in all the Crown Grill steaks they've had, that those steaks were amongst the worst. Like the meat wasn't.
And obviously, and the service was very poor. And he just sort of says, look, I don't think we should be charged the service charge that you add on to the price of the dining, because the service was not up to standard, and was quite below standard. And the restaurant manager didn't really seem that bothered, or it didn't really sort of was like as if he didn't know what to do about that. It was as if like the first time he'd ever heard somebody saying this before. So his response was like, oh, right, okay, I'm sorry, I'll have to speak to a superior about that. So yeah.
It didn't feel good that they couldn't rectify an issue that has just happened, and service that has just happened for 2 hours. Right there and then. That's not really allowing us to resolve this.
And I think just too, from thinking of, my time that I had worked in a manager's role and that before, you be more sincere in your apology, you listen to what your guest or your customer has to say, and then you try and make some suggestions as to how you might put it right. Not, okay, I'll pass that on, or I'll try and deal with that, and then not give you feedback or anything, so...
It really did sour the evening, because after this, we
sort of, like you were sort of saying this morning, like you kind of felt bad because we tagged along with Ken and Lindsay's night.
And then I feel like we ruined their night because my meal was not great. You were insulted. The service was bad. They didn't have a good meal, and then it was almost like they felt bad for bigging up Crown Grill, and then actually it was one of the worst experiences we've had in a while.
Yeah. So, we just want to basically tell you now how what you should do in these sort of situations, because as we've said, we don't believe that you should be rude to anyone that's serving you, in the restaurants. They're here, they're trying to do their best, they're trying to do their job most of the time. But we sort of obviously just want to put this in so that then, we want to give you the full story then of what happened, even though this part of the story is happening the next day, which is obviously when we're doing this recording. So we've been chatting this morning, with Ken and Lindsay and things, and they'd asked, how we sort of felt, and we sort of made it very clear that it kind of did ruin our night. We didn't really want to go out last night, and we didn't, because it just sort of left that sour taste in our mouth in terms of, our sort of evening's been ruined. So, they sort of suggested maybe we should go to guest services and have a chat with them. I was in two minds whether to do it, because guest services on a sea day, as we're heading back to Southampton, is normally quite busy. And so I sort of didn't really want to go, because it is sort of like a personal thing to talk about. But we did go. we did go and we spoke to a lovely lady called Dee Dee, and she was very apologetic, and she says, "Oh, I'm very sorry to hear this."
She really took the time to listen as well. Like, she didn't interrupt you when you were speaking. So
she asked us about the name of the server if we knew it, and the time that we were there, so that she had as much information as she could take from us. And she was just apologetic, and she just sort of says, "I'm very sorry, that shouldn't have happened." You know, regardless, whether you've lost weight or you're twice the size or whatever, it's just not something that a server should be talking to, or about with a guest. So she decided that because we'd already briefly discussed the poor service with the restaurant manager, that she would go above him, and that she would ring the food and beverage director. Was it food and beverage director or
Yes.
hotel director?
Food
and beverage director, I think it was.
Yes, yeah. Antonio.
And within about 5 minutes, he was down.
I don't even think it was 5 minutes.
Yeah, maybe not even 5 minutes. He took us over to the side, because obviously she had sort of mentioned that it was a bit of a sensitive topic. So he took us over to the side, and he just sort of explained. He asked, what had happened, and we told him, and he was he's the sort of man that he just wants to know the facts, and he's just like, right, okay, tell me what happened. And and he was sort of like, he was very in agreement with things and sort of taking it all in, but he just sort of really wanted to know what was the main issue here. And he himself sort of says, it's unacceptable. He says nobody should be talking to a guest like that. Nobody should have that kind of a conduct, because it is something that is personal to a guest. You don't know how they're going to react. So he was very apologetic, and he just sort of says, look, I'm very sorry that this happened. He says it should not have happened. He agreed that obviously the standard of the food that Will received wasn't either up to standard.
No.
Wasn't up to standard either. I can hardly speak. And he just apologised, and he says, look, I'm going to speak to the restaurant manager. And he says, I'm going to speak to that server, because it's unacceptable, and we shouldn't have had to endure that.
Yeah, and it is important for us to know that someone else won't have to go through that level of service and things that had happened to us, because it wasn't that nice. And it really didn't help my mood or your mood for the rest of the evening.
So we thought whenever we came away, he had explained about removing the charge, and we thought that he meant the service charge. But we have obviously later then checked our onboard account, and it turns out that Antonio has actually refunded the full cost of the meal.
I do think this is really took a little bit of that sour taste from yesterday evening. I think they've done
what they can,
and I've really, really appreciated that.
Yeah, and we want to share this with you purely because we hear all the time and we see people commenting and leaving bad reviews and things like that, and yes, our experience wasn't good by any means, and we're sharing it with you, but we also want then to make you aware that, well, look, you need to, don't take to Facebook or a review site to basically just say...
Facebook's not going to resolve it, you know, take it to the people who can help, and the ones that can actually...
Make the difference.
And improve.
Yeah,
and then make sure it doesn't happen again.
So, folks, that's been a recap of our day 6 on board Sky Princess.
Yeah, so if you've liked this video, please give us a thumbs up down below. It's going to be here or here. And don't forget to click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on our next upload. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.